Good evening, 12s, and welcome to the Seahawks 360 podcast, a SportsEthos production, where we look at the Seahawks from every angle every week. I'm your host, Candace Hagans, and I am joined by Josh Riesser of Ethos Bengals. So we are happy to bring a crossover, one of the few crossover opportunities that we have for the season. We look forward to talking the upcoming game. So Josh, we appreciate you being on with me, man. How you doing?
Good. Yes, I'm glad to have you, or I'm glad you're having me. I wish there was more people to do this with because
Yeah.
it's always fun to kind of see views from other teams.
Right, exactly. Yeah, for those who don't know, the Ethos Network is sort of building their NFL teams, and so I think there's like six NFL teams right now, and so hopefully we'll have more opportunities to crossover like this. But really excited to hear your perspective. I think it's a really big game for both teams, with very different storylines. So I'm curious to hear just kind of from your perspective. Up to this point, the Bengals have been one of the hot topics on all national media with Joe Burrow and his injury and how the team is doing, how they're looking. What's your perspective on where the Bengals are? And then we can just kind of, I guess, exchange questions back and forth from here.
Definitely underperforming. Clearly, they've been hindered by the calf injury, which I don't think was handled the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that said, I know Zach was trying to get the win as however he could, and throwing Jake Browning out there probably wasn't going to be any better. But I'm sure Joe was harping in his ear the entire time that he wanted to play. So I understand. But looking back, the IR stint probably would have been the more strategic move.
Yeah, that's kind of been my opinion. I think they should have, my opinion, I think they should have rested Joe Burrow at least week one, maybe week two, and then brought him back. Um, but it's interesting to hear you kind of see them as underperforming, because one thing that's kind of been a common trend, I guess, I don't know if it's circumstantial or what, is that the Bengals kind of start slow, right? If I recall, they're like 6-7-1 or something, like in the month of September. And like, so is it just you guys feel like it's just normal, like standard, or is it really you guys are feeling sort of this different?
Well, it's definitely, or something that attributes to it is Joe never having a preseason or an off season, either healthy or his first one in the year or first year in the league was COVID, so everything was virtual. Then he busted his knee.
Yep.
Then they had the appendicitis, and then he had the strained calf. So it's like he's never had the reps with the boys in training camp.
That's a good point.
And he's definitely a quarterback that like needs that,
Yeah.
despite being so cerebral and smart. But otherwise, and also I think that the Zach Taylor has it programmed in his mind how he wants to start games, and he has a scheme and a script every week, and he will not adjust. It's like week one against Cleveland. It's like a tsunami almost. So he said it was one of the worst rain games he'd ever seen. Yet he's still throwing the ball every play. It's like Joe Mixon's averaging 5 yards a carry. On the other side, you got Nick Chubb and Jerome Ford just running down our throats,
Yeah.
or the Bengals' throats, I should say. And yeah, it's like, dude, just run the ball. Like Joe's clearly not healthy. Quit doing these stupid, quick little screen passes.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. I gotta agree there for sure. Like this is I've heard people talking about this being an important year in terms of his play calling, like him proving he can actually call the plays. I'm gonna assume with that then that you don't think he's doing a very good job to this point.
I've never, I've never really been a Zach Taylor guy, and especially with his play calling and his um, decision making on fourth down.
Mm.
And I I think it's even become more apparent that second half of the season, Joe Burrow says screw it and just kind of puts the team on his back and does what he wants to do.
Yeah. And
Even
he has well earned the right for sure.
this past week, you saw it. There was reports that like Zach was in over the headset saying like, "Oh, throw it away," and then Joe just keeps extending, and then he finds Jamar. It's like, Zach, shut up.
Yeah, for sure. Joe knows what he's doing. Um, So I know we've kind of referenced his like injury, and obviously that's been a really big issue. But they did sort of put it together against the Arizona Cardinals, right? How much stock do you put into that performance?
Definitely. I mean, not a lot, a decent amount, I guess. Arizona definitely is playing above their talent, I'd say.
Right.
And it was a good game for the most part. But yeah, it was really nice to see the offense clicking and him being able to extend plays, and he even dropped the mic after a rushing play, which was I got a pretty good kick out of it. Like a 10-yard scamper up the middle, and he gets up and just drops the ball, and it's good to see.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, especially because it's been a rough quarter. So that's kind of where I stand. Like, I don't know if you have any questions about the Seahawks, but I just feel like that both of these teams are kind of at a turning point, that this game is really pivotal one way or the other for the narrative going forward for both teams. Like, from the Bengals perspective, it's kind of like, are they starting to get it going? Like, it's Joe Burrow back pretty much. And then I think on the Seahawks side, it's like, are the Seahawks legit? Like, is it just playing certain opponents, or are they really like as good as they have looked at least the last 3 weeks?
Oh, because they're on a 3-game win streak, right?
Yep. And then the bye, coming off the bye.
They lost week 1 to the Rams.
Correct. Which doesn't look as bad as we thought.
No, yeah, the Rams
looked really bad at first, but the Rams came to play. Who knew?
How is Geno? Because I know last week he was pretty fired up too after it happened.
Mad about that. He's still mad about it. So Pete has implied that he's fine, right? Good to go. And he was not listed on the injury report, but when Geno was asked about it yesterday in the presser, he was saying that he's getting progressively better. So I think he's implying he's not 100%, but he's going to obviously go out and play. And so I don't know. For me, I'm a little nervous, but Charles Cross, our starting left tackle, is back, which was like needed, like rain in the desert. It was strongly needed, especially if Geno is going to be playing, kind of injured already. Like that was going to be a combination that was going to make me even more anxious. Drew Lock just got injured, and so like practice squad guy.
What happened there? Was that during practice?
Just popped up on the injury report during practice after not appearing on Wednesday. I think he appeared on Thursday, and so they have had to sign a practice squad guy, and so not feeling great about that situation.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, if that were to be the case, then I would expect a heavy dose, even more so, of Walker and Charbonnet.
If we can make it happen. There's so many questions about the Seahawks team and where they are, and that's really why I think this game is so pivotal, because they've been really playing with a lot of mismatch parts. And while the O-line has been better in the run game than the pass game, I think their starters are actually better at pass pro than run pro. So now that we are getting a little healthier, the question is, will they be able to open up those lanes that the backups could, but they couldn't pass protect to save their lives? So a lot of questions going into this game. I mean, I hope we can run the ball well. We've obviously got the backs to do it. The talent is there, but we've had 11 offensive linemen starting on playing on our team in like 4 games.
Wow.
So
I know what that's like, but geez.
Yeah. It's been a journey. So there really is a question of what will they be able to do? Like, will they go back to some of the original playbook type of things? Because, in recent weeks, they really pretty much changed the whole offensive scheme around not having an O-line. Will they revert back to that as they get healthier? The heavy tight end thing was working well, but will they want to get JSN more involved now? It's hard to know. Ton of question marks for sure.
Is DK hurt? I thought I saw that he was. What is that?
He's hurt, but he's been hurt.
Ribs? Oh.
Yeah, he's been hurt since week 2, but he's been playing.
Okay.
So he's just kind of suffering through it. The bye week, I'm sure, helped him out some, but yeah, I think they're just resting him all practice and just kind of playing him on game day. Like, he may do like light practice on like the Friday just to make sure he's good to go, and then like he'll play. It's pretty much how that's been going. So I'm not really worried about it. He's just said he's gonna play through it.
Sure.
So, and he's been doing pretty good. I mean, for a guy that has a rib injury, he's really been playing very well.
I have one right now. I play rugby and it doesn't feel good. So I know.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean T Higgins going through one as well, so it's very common, I guess.
And it makes this battle is so different than I thought it was going to be preseason. I mean, to be honest, if you're a Seahawks fan, you kind of scheduled the L. But we really have there's just so many question marks on both sides. Like you said, the injuries, like you guys are banged up. We're both injury quarterbacks. Like, is Joe fully back? Is Geno fully back? No one really knows. The O lines have been kind of, we'll say, hit and miss to be nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, the injuries, even to the wide receivers. So, what else are some of the injuries that you guys, some of your bigger injuries right now?
Our cornerback one, Cheeto Awuzie, who's been like a big surprise signing. I think it was
Yeah.
two seasons ago. He is questionable. Him and T are both game time decisions. Otherwise, they're pretty clean. With Joe isn't on the report anymore. I think the Bengals just have like Akeem Davis Gaither, who's he's a backup linebacker. He's out, and that's really it, I think. So it's kind of nice.
All right. So you guys are cleaning up. We don't know if we're cleaning up yet. We still got a couple of nickelbacks down, which makes the interesting question about how they're going to use Devin Witherspoon without our starting nickelback, Kobe Bryant, who personally I feel like we're better off without anyway. And already
Really? You don't like Kobe?
no, don't. I don't like Kobe in his role. Now they played him some in the preseason at safety, and I actually think I like him a lot more at safety. He just doesn't have the quickness to.
Yeah, he's a bigger guy, right?
Now he's a small guy, super
Oh,
small.
really?
That's what I got him in nickel. I mean, that's why they haven't really tried him on the outside. He played outside all college, so they moved him in at nickel when he was a rookie last year, and he gave up the sixth most yards of any cornerback in the league.
Oh, damn.
Now he
Or
has a
dang.
real knack for forcing fumbles and turnovers. And yeah, I think he like led the league in that. So like he's got some great upside. I like that, but I like that skill set not at nickel because teams just when you need a third down, throw it Bryant. Like it's not even a question.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Yeah, so that's a real thing. Artie Burns, who is a sort of throwaway vet that they signed last year from the Steelers. He didn't end up playing. They picked him up this offseason, and he's actually played better than Kobe Bryant, in my opinion. And nickel, I'm kind of pleased with Artie Burns at this point. I mean, he's not anything over the top, but you don't need your nickel to be necessarily.
Mhm.
So that's a big question for us. Apparently Jordan Brooks did not participate. I think they're just resting him. Because I'd
I
be
saw
fine if they played Devin Bush.
Jamal Adams, I think I saw is supposed to be back.
Yep, he cleared concussion protocol. Let's just hope he can stay on the field the whole game this time. We'll see. It's been a while since we've seen him play on the field for a whole game. It's been years.
Maybe
So,
not yell at someone on the sideline.
well, I don't know. I don't blame him for that. Not only because he literally hasn't played the game in 385 days, but that's just a common symptom when you're in concussion protocol. Also,
Right.
like when your brain is injured, the emotions that come from that are literally like standard. You can Google it. It's a thing.
No,
So
I
I kind of
totally
thought it was
get
a
it.
little. I thought it was a little insane. They were going to like punish a guy who's like got a brain injury for
Yeah.
not behaving correctly. um,
Oops.
but anywho, neither here nor there. Hopefully he can play the game. If he can, I mean the guy looks good in the flashes you see him. So if he can
Definitely.
stay on the field, that's a big deal for us. But I think the team has learned how to navigate without him also. So it's kind of a cherry on top deal where if you have him, great. If not, I think the team has learned how to play at this point without him and they'll still do well. Um, Nervous about our guard, Damian Lewis, not practicing though Thursday.
He's from LSU.
Say what?
Was he from LSU?
Yep, LSU guy. Yep,
Yeah.
and this is a
Okay.
contract year. He's been pretty banged up on and off all year, and that's a big part of why the O line shuffle has been so dramatic. I mean, whenever he's out, you got to take your center, put him at guard, and then take the backup center, and put him in. And
Yeah, that's a lot of just like chemistry wise.
yeah, they've had no chemistry. So for the offense to really be, I believe they're top 5 in scoring, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. At least top 10, but they're doing really well offensively in terms of point production for an offense that has had no chemistry whatsoever at any point. I don't think they've had. I don't even know if they play half a game worth of snaps with the starting offensive line. Because of that, the schemes have gotten like, who are the Seahawks offensively? Who knows?
I know. That's what I want to ask you. Like, how do you see them attacking the Bengals then?
All depends on the O line. The tight end heavy sets have worked really well to this point in terms of substituting and offsetting for the pass protection issues of our O line. They typically get the ball out quick game. And then, like I said, utilizing those tight ends and misdirections and using motions to sort of throw off defenses. Shane Waldron has done a superb job this year from an offensive play calling perspective and adjusting to his situation and really making the pass pro not look as bad as it's actually been. Like, you don't notice it on film, but if you go back and watch that all 22, bro, it's brutal. Tough watch.
That's a great offensive coordinator. Like,
yeah, it's great. And I will also credit Gino with a lot of that too, especially against that Lions game. People praised those backup tackles a ton. And then when I went back and watched the all 22, those guys got beat immediately. It was just Gino stepping into the pocket, rolling out, right? And like just having a really good pocket presence, right? Knowing how to navigate it. If you need to step up in the pocket, if you need to roll out of the pocket, like he just got really good timing and presence in that way. That really made his offensive line look a lot better than what they actually were. Like I said, especially in that Lions game, maybe not as much in the Giants game, but he was injured in that game too, so that's a factor. But I think Gino and Waldron both have done a good job of mitigating what is probably a disaster, but just doesn't look as bad as it is.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, so I would say that I guess it's a good time to get into it'd be hard for us to talk too long about the Bengals and the Seahawks at this point without mentioning sort of the commentary about the game back and forth. DK saying that while Jamar Chase is great or really good, that he thinks that Witherspoon will lock him up, and then Jamar Chase responding with that those guys are decent. And so it's been some back and forth. Not quite. I wouldn't say
it's
playful trash talk. Yeah.
Fun playful banter.
Yeah. What's your take? I
like it, especially. I mean, I don't know if after Jamar Chase's big game last week, he posted that picture of 7-Eleven.
Yeah,
I had a pretty good laugh about that, but it's fun. It's interesting. They're both former number 5 picks. Mm-hmm. So I actually watching, because that Seahawks Giants game, that was a primetime game, right?
Correct. Yep. Monday night.
And then Witherspoon had that long interception return.
Yeah, that monster game. It was a monster game for man.
So
I knew the guy would be great, but I didn't see that. I gotta be honest, I didn't see that coming.
So I mean, the kid obviously has some chops to play, but in the 2 Bengals wins, Jamar had 15 and 19 targets. And I think even with that kind of volume, you can play your heart out, kid. But I still think I got Chase coming out on top.
That's fair. I really don't know. A little to some extent, I actually might agree with you, because as great as Witherspoon looked, and he did look good in multiple areas, pass rush, just being sticky in coverage, and of course the pick six, but also it was Daniel Jones. So
yeah.
And Daniel Jones doesn't have a ton of great receivers, to say the least. Probably like one of the worst wide receiver cores in the league. So as great as he looked, it would be a little premature. I thought while I love DK's confidence in his teammates, I think it's a little premature just because the guys only played 2 games.
Right.
He played against, his first game was against the Lions, which he actually had a couple big slip ups. So I mean, now I get the sense he learns quickly. So they got him on a couple of rookie mistakes, and so his stats look worse from that game than his play actually was. Considering that he got targeted a ton in that Lions game. But I still would say Jamar Chase, just as the veteran, I think it just may come down to experience more than anything. I believe in Witherspoon's talent a great bit, but 2 games of experience, and Chase has been doing this for a few years now. Like the guys, he's got it, especially in terms of if you want to mess Witherspoon up, you play on his aggression, right? I don't think it's that hard to try to do that. Now, has he quickly learned from week 2, and can he now bounce back and be better in that way? Maybe, but yeah, I think it's a little premature.
And like even recently, the Bengals have been moving Jamar like around everywhere in the offense. So like I don't even know if like it would be a shadow situation or not, or if it'd just be like a side of the field or.
No, that's typically not Pete's game. I don't think he's ever historically had anyone shadowed. So that's the other thing. I don't even know if it'll be a Witherspoon. We don't even know what Witherspoon will be. Right. I think that's the bigger question for me. Will they play him on the outside? Will they play him on the inside? Will they both? Will they like put him all around the field too? It's possible. They've talked about it. Jamal Adams being back, I think they have him playing some nickel. So maybe Witherspoon is on the outside, but I actually more curious about how Woolen does in this game than Witherspoon. Because Witherspoon's just so young, and Woolen, as great of a year as he had last year, want to see him get some legs under him. He's been injured too. So really it's been injury mania for this whole team. Like we lost our whole secondary, we lost our whole O-line.
Good timing for the bye week.
Yeah, finally getting pieces put back together. And that's what makes it a question about if this team is legit, because, they've kind of looked great on both sides. And that's with a bunch of pieces missing. How much of that is legit? How much of that is circumstance? We'll find out over the next couple of weeks, I think.
Absolutely.
So who are you watching most? Like what would you say is the game plan for the Bengals to win this game?
Got to keep Joe upright. It seems like even last week when he was doing well, standing in the pocket, God, they play Arizona. They realized they needed to start sending like a lot more free rushers. So the only thing that worries me is if Seattle realizes that too early and they're just like blitzing the stuffing out of Burrow and company. Because I think the offensive line gets a bad rep because teams are just like, even Tennessee, like when they ate us up because they realized that Joe couldn't move. So if they stacked the load of the box and like just got to him before he could even make a decision, what are you going to do?
Right.
So, and the thing about the Bengals, like our pass blocking like pieces they haven't really ever like worked out well. Like our running backs, Giovanni Bernard was the best pass blocking back we've probably had, or they've ever had. And he's been long gone. And now we're relying on like Travion Williams, and Chris Evans barely even plays. Mixon's never been a great pass blocker. And we have a Drew Sample tight end. He was a second round pick because he's like a blocking specialist. And he's never really panned out either. So I don't know. I'm always worried about the blitz now. And the Bengals seem to want to establish the run, so we can't take that away because Mixon barely gets to work.
And that is interesting that they don't do that. Now, that may even be more so the case of them playing into it, because right now the Seahawks, their run defense has been really good, like top level, especially considering they were the worst team in run defense in football last season. It's been quite the turnaround for the team. So you might even see more of that from a game plan perspective. If I'm a coach, I'm not excited to run the ball against our front based on early results.
I did see, I think you guys are averaging like 85 rush yards a game given up, which is really good.
Yeah.
So
it's been a turnaround.
So hopefully it'll just be a heavy dose of Jamar.
I think that's sustainable. I have questions about other aspects of the defense, but I do feel like the run defense being good is there to stay. But it's interesting that you bring up the blitz, because that has been my number one complaint with Pete Carroll always, like for years, in terms of just being so reluctant to blitz and really be aggressive in coverage. Sometimes just these soft zones, quarterbacks can't eat that up. It's just all day long we just give guys stuff underneath, and it just, in fact, if you saw me a couple weeks ago, I was kind of out on Pete. to me, this year is still very important for me with Pete, because he's got to be able to field a decent defense. Like, you can't be a defensive coach who's had a bad defense 5 years in a row. And that's really what we're knocking at the door on here. It's great. As much as I love Pete, and he's got his great things, the defense has to at least be decent at this point. Like, you changed schemes twice, you changed coordinators like 2 or 3 times. At some point, you're the common denominator. But they blitzed the heck out of the Giants last. I mean, I was more shocked than I think anyone else. Like, I've never seen them blitz that way and just be so creative on the blitz. And so, do they ride that momentum in the next game, or do we go back to same old Pete strategy? I'm eager to see.
Same old chill Pete.
Yep. Always compete but never blitz or never be aggressive. We just call it competition and we don't actually try to compete on the field. Pete. Yeah. That guy.
Funny. I view the Bengals defense similar. Weird. They're prone to the chunk plays this season. Like, teams are just either picking up like 12, 15-yard run plays, or it's like 20-yard pass plays. But then the Bengals always seem to get bailed out by something in the red zone. The opposing team either falters and has to kick a field goal. But man, like, I'm like Lou Anarumo, he is a great defensive coordinator. Don't get me wrong. And if the defense plays better than they have been, he probably will get a head coaching job, because the defense is young and the secondary is kind of not in shambles, but safeties are kind of, or one of the safeties, I should say, Nick Scott, that we signed from the Rams. He's underperformed. He actually got benched in the second half.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the Bengals are going to be starting, or they might be starting Jordan Battle, who's a rookie from Alabama.
Interesting.
Who I think he might have played all 4 years, I think. So there'll be some experience out there, but they're going to lose some speed. So I am afraid of the old Tyler Lockett or DK, I guess, deep ball. And honestly, like, this probably is going to be JSN's coming out game, because I have him in one of my dynasty football leagues, and I'm just waiting for the game for him to pop.
Yeah. You just need the healthy guy. You just need the O-line to be healthy, honestly. They talked so much about doing 3 wide receiver sets, and last year they leaned heavy on the tight ends, and they really talked about switching that, but they just haven't been able to. So I think JSN will have his pop game. I don't think it'll be what people thought of. I mean, he's a wide receiver 3, so it's always never going to be like explosive. He was never going to get the numbers that Jordan Addison was going to get just on situation alone. But I do think maybe we begin to see him a little bit more, make more of an impact. And if that can happen, that's awesome. And it would be helpful, especially given if you guys have a weaker secondary. But what does scare me about what you just said is that you guys have a really good red zone defense, right? And we stink in the red zone. A red zone offense. Our red zone offense is don't get in the red zone, but score anyway. And we've been doing great at that. Like, we've been doing especially great at that. Seriously, a lot of our points have just come from like big plays, DK just going down the field, and really that's kind of what they need to happen, because red zone wise, I'm sure some of it has to do with the O-line, but also Gino wasn't great in the red zone in that area last year either. I don't know. It didn't work out as well for us. We tend to kick a lot.
Well, gotta have a good kicker then. Oh, no, not a good kicker.
Okay. So it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen with our kicker. Jason Myers is literally all pro caliber on even years. Like, if it's an even year, he was literally all pro last year. Seriously. And he started off like 2 of 6, like the beginning. He's done better, but like, if you go look at his stats, his odd years are not very good.
Interesting.
It's the strangest dynamic I've ever seen. I really haven't seen anything like it, but it's like that he just got extended, and so people were like, well, maybe he'll break the car, because he was better than Justin Tucker in a lot of statistical measures last year. but we're not seeing it this year. So who knows what Jason Myers we will get on Sunday. I, who knows?
I think kickers across the league are just kind of down this year because even Evan McPherson, I've been saying since week one, something's up with him. Like he was so good his rookie year when the Bengals went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then last season, I feel like he digressed a little bit. And then this year as well, he's not as money as he used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really strange. Like you have one job, do your job.
Shut up and kick.
Right. Pretty much. Like you're on an NFL team. Shut up and kick. That's funny. But where do you have any questions about just the Seahawks and sort of what we do and what things have been like?
So I guess between Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet, I'm interested to hear your takes on those two because Charbonnet's been fun to watch, but it seems he's been creeping in on Walker's snaps or
a little bit. I think the duo, the tandem is great together. I think they both need one another. They're both versatile enough to be able to start, in my opinion, if they needed to. So like Charbonnet doesn't give you the wiggle that a K9 will, but he's got enough to his game that he can create some opportunities. But what Charbonnet lacks is vision. And so, especially with a shaky O-line, he's not been able to maximize. I think he hasn't looked as good as he could look, in my opinion. But he's the guy you can rely on to get you 3 yards in a cloud of dust. And Walker last year, that was his biggest issue. Like he was boom or bust. He was either I'm losing 2 yards or I'm gaining 75 yards.
right.
It was one or the other, and there was not a lot of middle ground to move the change, which is why they needed a Charbonnet. So I really love that tandem together. I actually even like that Charbonnet is. I know it's not great for fantasy, but I kind of like that Charbonnet is creeping into Ken Walker's yards because running back injuries have been a curse.
Huge,
every year. Like we had 5 active running backs on the roster and literally lost all 5. We still had to go through like 2 practice squad dudes. Like
remember that.
It's bad. Like I don't know why I know running backs get hurt, but like it's in Seattle, it's been, I think, on the extreme end. And so I kind of want to reserve Walker. You know what I mean? Like he's already had a couple injury issues. I think he had an injury over training camp too. So like if we don't have to make him the workhorse, lessen the load, maybe we can get more games out of him, and especially down the stretch and like making a playoff run when we would really need him.
Sure. I bring that up because the Bengals in their 3 losses, when they play a physical running back, they have no answer. It's like week 1 and with Chubb and the Browns. Granted, that was a rain game, but then even like Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, like Gus is a pretty big dude. The Ravens ran all over the Bengals, and then against the Titans, like they couldn't tackle Derrick Henry to freaking save their lives. I don't know. Like the Bengals have had such a hard time tackling on defense this season. So I could see maybe if Charbonnet, like the snaps that he gets, if he's plowing them over and getting a good 6 yards of carry, I could see it be a big game for him.
Yeah, I could too. That's an interesting point. As long as our online can, get some push at the line of scrimmage, he can do that. He can do that because I really do like Charbonnet's game. It's so, like you said, it's just fun. It's just something about like he's got a little Marshawn Lynch to his game, like especially at the end of runs. Like he's just gonna either run through dudes or like if you're gonna tackle him, you're gonna feel that you tackled him. Like it's unnecessary too. It's just like these unnecessary like bring down the shoulder and like lay a hit. But I love it. I get it. We take any Marshawn Lynch-esque that we can get around. So that has been fun. And I agree. If they can't tackle Charbonnet, he's tough. And I will say, I mean, I don't know if they do better with more finesse guys, but Kenneth Walker is leading the league. He's like top 3, top 5 in terms of forcing missed tackles. That's what I'm looking for. So he's slippery, even though he's not a power guy.
I'd say the Bengals are pretty good with against the more dynamic backs.
Maybe it is the game of Charbonnet.
Um, yeah,
I'd love to
it,
see it.
just because if the Bengals, if they get in that game script where they're getting run on, like I think one of the only ways the Bengals can really like establish this game there is getting to Geno, especially getting them to her early. Like Trey Hendrickson's a madman this season.
Yep.
He is such a game wrecker.
Yeah, he is.
And like if Cross is if he's back, that'll be a fun matchup. But otherwise, Hendrickson might feast a little bit. So
Maybe. We'll
I'm
see.
ex-
Because Geno's been really good at avoiding sacks
okay.
this year, which was a struggle last year. We'll see if that continues. And we don't know with the injury, how that will affect his mobility, his ability to sort of navigate the pocket the way he normally does. But I would think that he might be able to get out. So you kind of need two monsters to really get, because they neutralized Aiden Hutchinson in against the Lions. He didn't get a single sack. I think he didn't get a single sack. I don't think he got a pressure. And we had an injured O-line at that point. I think that's the game Cross went down. Yeah. I don't know. He'd already gone down. He went down week 1, so we were playing the two backups. And he still didn't. And that was all Geno.
Okay. And the Bengals also have a good interior pass rush, so
Now that would get Geno. If you got good, that would get Geno. He struggles against the interior to pass rush. He can get on the edge a lot better than he can dealing with that upfront pressure. Sure.
Yeah. So I think as long as Cincinnati, just like I said, they can't give up those big runs and they can't give up big chunk pass plays, they should be okay. They've got a lot of rookies playing on defense too. They're DJ Turner, he's a cornerback, 2nd-round pick from Michigan. He's actually really stepped up. So if he has to play either JSN or Lockett, I think that'll be a fun matchup.
Yeah, that really would. I'd love to see Lockett on that, though, because I know Lockett could honestly, they're both really great route runners. I was going to say, I know Lockett has that experience to sort of get the best of rookies, but JSN I have no doubt in his ability to be able to run a route that would mess up a defensive back at all. So I think you're right. Either way, that's going to be a lot of fun. You guys, I think you mentioned this before, but you don't blitz a ton in terms of getting pressure.
Not a lot. When it does come though, I do feel like it is it's well timed. It's usually on like a third and 4, like something around there, and like Lou just I don't know that he's got a good brain. So always have faith in Lou.
Okay.
Zach, not so much.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, because I think if you're rushing for, I feel like the Seahawks can navigate that better. I'm a little bit more worried about if you guys are gonna blitz. Then I'm like, okay, that makes me a little nervous. But if you're blitzing on third down, Seahawks offensively have struggled on third down, and JSN was supposed to help a lot with that. But again, they haven't been able to utilize that very much.
Colby Parkinson, come on, man! Like you got to get him on the field.
He has been on the field. He's been on the field a lot.
That's what I'm saying. They're prioritizing him over JSN.
Yeah, pretty
it's
much.
kind of funny.
Pretty much, it is, and no one expected that. So, anyway, I will see how that goes. That's something I'm looking at a lot. Another thing I'm looking at a lot, at least from my team's perspective, is how aggressive will they be in their coverage? They've continued to be soft in coverage. They've leveraged that a little bit more with being more aggressive in blitzes in recent weeks, which has been to their success. But I look at the stats, man, and Joe Burrow eats zone alive. Like 72.9 completion rating against zone compared to like 51.6 against man. So they have got to, you got Woolen, you got Witherspoon. Those are man coverage dudes. Use them in man.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a huge key. If the Seahawks want to win this game, especially on the road, you gotta be aggressive. Play man and be aggressive.
Be physical.
Yeah, be physical, play man. I don't think you have to blitz heavy, but I think you do enough. Like you said, the timing, I think, will matter with the blitz. But if you're playing man, make Joe Burrow have to go through his reads and make that O-line have to keep him upright, like you said, like force them to make some decisions. But if he didn't have to think, he can just throw into a wide open zone, then like
Yeah, that could be a big
gonna be
Tyler Boyd
miserable.
game, or whoever
Yeah.
you're going to put out the slot, because
Yep.
they're running Jamar out there a lot as well.
Yep. Exactly. Um, and I'm sure he's great at knowing when to, finding the soft places in the zone. And so you kind of want him in sticky coverage. You want to make a decision. Do you throw it up to the guy? Do you risk Tariq Woolen picking it off, or do you, or do you, hold the ball and try to go to another read and maybe get a sack? That's a huge part. I think I might go as far to say the Seahawks can win the game on that alone. That's a really big decision. If assuming the offense can like exist, then that can win the game alone. I feel like that's a game changer if they decide to make that change.
Sure. Do you foresee this being a shootout or more of a low scoring defensive minded game?
I'm actually thinking low scoring defense because both of the defenses have shown themselves to be good early on. You can question the opponents, but like they've shown themselves to be good early on, and like I said, we're both talking about recovering quarterbacks. Like Geno's coming off injury, Burrow's been trying to get past injury, and while he's looking better, I think how back is Geno is a pretty big question. Like, can he have the mobility he'll need? Because Geno can move around some, then I have no doubt they can get some offense going. But sometimes the offense tends to stall, and that has a lot to do with pass protection. I'll be honest, has a lot to do with the pass protection and just pretty much just having to throw it away more than anything else. Because he doesn't have a lot of touchdowns. I think we've been doing a lot of running touchdowns. More the running game has sort of been kind of our saving grace in terms of moving the chains. But I'd like to see Geno get going, but I don't think it's going to be this game. Like I wouldn't peg this game as Geno throwing 4 or 5 touchdowns. Like I could be wrong, but it surprised me.
Because I know the over under is 45, so I could see like a 24-21 game, but I could also see like a 28-31 kind of game.
I think I can see like 17-21, like
just like DK like making like a 10-yard curl route and then taking it 80 yards because he
maybe if it's something like that. Now if your secondary is like that suspect, then maybe it does get high scoring. But I think I maybe a big part of my logic is just both these O lines are suspect or have shown themselves at least to be suspect early, and if both teams can get pass rush, then I think that might make some more 3 and outs than maybe you'd initially think. That's kind of how I'm picturing it. But if those O lines hold up and we can get some explosive plays, that's actually a much more fun scenario. Like that's when this game becomes like a ton of fun to watch. It's like 2 completely different ways it could go.
Right. Because what time's the game on for you? It's 10 in the 12.
Yep. Well, I cover the ticket. I actually don't live in Seattle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Same.
I cover the ticket, but I actually don't live in Seattle. So no, the game in Seattle, comes on at 10. It's a 10 o'clock game. But well, since it's where you guys are for the players, it's noon anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not in Cincinnati, so.
Well, you know what though? The Seahawks have tended to do well in those early games.
That's what I've heard. So it'd be fun. Be a fun way to start someone's morning if it's a high scoring game.
Yeah, it would. It'd be a ton of fun. Like I said, they've done well, Pete. They used to be something that they historically struggled with, and at some point in the Russ era, maybe halfway through, they made a turnaround and I guess revamped their travel system. I don't know what they did, but so far they've been killing the early morning windows, even the road games. Sometimes I feel better about the road games than the home games, but Cincinnati territory is a tough place to play. No question.
The fans have been filling that stadium and it's loud.
Yeah, for sure. So it's a challenge either way, but it is wild that I genuinely feel better about road games sometimes. That's just where the cookies crumbled. Even this year, like that they only won 1 at home. Yeah.
It'll be a fun matchup, that's for sure.
Definitely. Well, I think that's all I have on the team. Really appreciate your insights on the. Oh wait, actually, I did have one more question. I want to ask you sort of like defensively. I know you mentioned the secondary sort of been kind of in and out, but like, what is the strategy typically? Is it more of a zone team, a man team? Like, what do you guys play defensively?
It's kind of like Seattle, where since it's like a bend don't break kind of
Mm,
thing. I would probably say they're more so of a zone coverage team,
mm,
but they run kind of this like 4-2, like four down linemen, two linebacker, and then five defensive backs. So they're, sometimes the nickel cornerback, who Mike Hilton, he's a great block or blitzer and a great tackler. So they like to keep him close to the line. So he's usually the guy that's blitzing on third down. Him or Dax Hill, who's a second-year safety from Michigan. They've got a lot of Michigan players on this team, unfortunately. I'm an Ohio State guy. Um, he's man, when they put him down in the box and he blitzes, he is like shot out of a cannon. I love watching Dax play. He's had a huge ascension, but otherwise, they just kind of rely on getting the quarterback quickly, and maybe they are a little bit more in your face kind of zone. They press,
mm,
and then each one's got their certain assignment. Lou
right.
is always doing different stuff, like the way that he sometimes he'll have three safeties on the field, and they'll just have one playing center field, and everyone else is kind of roaming. It's crazy.
It's
Uh,
funny that you say that. That sounds actually a lot like the Seahawks defense lately. This year it's been really different. Like they've been doing. It was a strange thing, and it's still frustrating to me. It's been working, but it's still frustrating to me that they got all these 3-4 guys and then decided they want 4 down linemen. I'm like, okay, so now you're just taking guys out of their scheme from what they used to play, and like, so now we just have these 2 interior linemen, and then you got your 2 OB linemen, and then they, like you said, they're trying to run 3 safety. With Jamal Adams coming back, I think they'll run that a lot more. That was what they wanted to do, and then he got hurt, of course. Like it's been what they've been wanting to do for a while, because their secondary is sort of their strong point on defense. With having Julian Love from the Giants, having Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams, like that's a really interesting tandem, and so we really haven't gotten to see what that looks like. But yeah, actually, it's quite the same. Now you never know who's going to blitz. I will say that the Seahawks have a much. I mean, I didn't know Jordan Brooks could blitz like that. He's been doing really well. Like we just been blitzing different dudes, so you can't say like who normally blitzes. I think almost everybody on that field can blitz at any point, except Tariq Woolen probably. Like that's not his game, but yeah, that's really funny. So we have been doing a little bit more sometimes man principles. I think they just let Witherspoon do whatever the heck he wants to do, because it seems like the opposite corner is always like in bail technique, and like Witherspoon's like pressed at the line of scrimmage. So I don't know if it's supposed to be like half field or if they just let him like freelance. I don't really
yeah,
understand, but it actually sounds really similar, so that'll be an interesting matchup for sure.
yeah. So it might just be kind of a mimic on offense and defense this game, if with
Yeah,
both quarterbacks being kind of questionable and
yeah.
defenses seem to be running the same kind of zone.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities with this team, more than I thought.
I do think Seattle runs the ball more though, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, you're gonna want ball with Pete Carroll for sure. Um, but I think they've leaned on this more than I think they've leaned on the running game this year more than last. Last year, Pete's known for his reputation for running the ball, but last year they actually did not. I mean, their running game was pretty porous. Like
Yeah,
you had the explosive plays from Ken Walker, and then literally nothing else. Now some of that was due to injury, like I said, like literally lost the entire running back field. And then some of it was just the inability to get pushed at the line of scrimmage from the offensive lineman, which has been a current theme. And then some of it was just that they were just better at passing, and they've got these weapons, DK, Lockett. At that point, it was just DK and Lockett, but you really want to try to get those guys the ball. The tight ends were doing really well too, so that was a really big part of their game. And they became a passing down, like on first downs, they were passers 100% of the time. And you've seen a little bit more effort to get the run game going early, sometimes to my own frustration, but it's still early in the year, so this team can evolve into anything. But this year, I do think that'll be a bit more of a factor for sure compared to last. Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, man. Well, why don't you just tell people where they can find you? Anything you got going up? I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up from here.
Yeah. So you can find me on X at RIESSER14 or Ethos Bengals. I come out with at least one podcast a week, so I should probably get to two. But Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts. I was very, very thankful for having me on today. Like this was really fun. We should.
Absolutely.
I've always wanted to do like. I wish we could get all the people together that cover football and have
Right?
like a quarterly roundup or something, and just
I
kind of
know.
talk about the NFL. But maybe we could do that or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we need more teams with like winning records because right now we got like the Bears and like the Falcons and like the right now it wouldn't be a great quarterly roundup. It wouldn't be our strong suit right now.
Just kind of get
We
our
just need to wait till we get like an Ethos 49ers or something.
no, we don't need that.
We don't need that. That's funny. Well, really, it's been a pleasure to have you on, Josh. I really appreciate your time and your insights. It's been great, and hopefully our fans and listeners got a lot more information about the Bengals team as a whole. So we don't get a chance to really meet up that often. It's kind of rare. So be sure to follow the show at Ethos Seahawks. We got polls, try to give you updated information, stats, whatever you need to know. We're always trying to keep you up and abreast of those things. So be sure to give us a follow. I still call it Twitter. It's Twitter to me. So so give us a follow on there. You can follow us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're listening on YouTube, like and subscribe. Please follow us that way as well. Well, that's it. That's all the time we have for today. I'm out. And as always, go Hawks.